What's up, y'all? My name is Prince, and I'm an urban acolyte. I just got home from seeing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I wanted to give my initial thoughts after seeing this movie this morning. If you're new here, I normally talk about Star Wars, but a lot of people ask me to post on Spider-Man to this channel, so if you guys are really interested, let me know, and I'll do a full review with spoilers tomorrow. Anyway, in the event that you don't know anything about Into the Spider-Verse, it's an animated film about a different Spider-Man from a different universe. In that universe, a younger Peter Parker has been Spider-Man, but he's killed. A second person is bitten by a radioactive spider, that being Miles Morales. And it's like we get those same Spider-Man adventures from the 60s and the 70s with a teenage Peter Parker trying to balance being Spider-Man with being this nerdy high school kid who was getting bullied by Flash Thompson. The difference in the stories is that, well, Miles is black and Puerto Rican, and his experiences are more in line with kids of today. I also think Miles becomes Spider-Man at a younger age than Peter Parker did. So, without getting into too many spoilers, the film does an excellent job giving Miles' origin story. I mean, we're introducing an entirely new Spider-Man to the audience, so you have to get into his origin of how he became Spider-Man, since it is a central part of the story. We also got the origin stories for the other Spider people involved in the story, along with the villains. The movie did a great job delivering the backstory. It was just the way it would have been handled in a comic book, where a new character might be introduced, or they allude to some past event, and you get those little side panels giving the whole backstory or a short synopsis. I mean, that should come as no surprise because this movie is basically an animated comic book. Anyway, I liked how it was all handled, where it's like, okay, well, who are you? What's so great about you? And why are you here? Then it's right back into the story. So I never felt like I was being taken out of the story so that I could get a little bit of background information on the characters. And since I'm on that topic, I want to say that I walked out of the movie not feeling like I needed to have been a big Spider-Man comic book reader to follow the story. I mean, the end of credit scene might require someone to know a little bit about the different Spider-Man titles, but that's sort of the standard for these Marvel movies, even though the Spider-Verse is being handled by Sony. Those end of credit scenes tend to have some huge Easter egg for a possible next movie, and that's kind of for the fans to get excited. The big takeaway point is, if you are interested in a Spider-Man movie, but you don't know anything about Spider-Man comic books, you don't need to spend a day on some Spider-Man wiki site or in a comic book store in order to enjoy the movie. I don't know how self-contained the story is because Sony's building a Spider-Verse, or basically like their big universe, to make movies about all kinds of Spider-Man characters, but you can walk into this movie without knowing anything about the movie and be able to follow the story. I want to give my thoughts about the art though. I mentioned that the movie is like watching an animated comic book. It really had that comic book feeling, especially with the panels, the thought bubbles, and the cell shading. There have been people who've been very vocal about not liking the cell shading. I'm not one of those people. The cell shading made it feel more like a comic book to me. I also think about this being on a different Earth in the multiverse. See, in my mind, this is just how things look in the universe where Miles exists. In another universe, things might look like Looney Tunes cartoons where Spider-Ham lives. Everything is black and white where Spider-Man Noir is from, and everything is in a 2D cartoon where the old 70s cartoon Spider-Man is from. But I may have said too much about that one, so I'll keep it moving. Either way, I just sort of went with the decision to go with the cell shading. I mean, I liked it and it didn't bother me at all. But actually, I will say this. I actually would like to see more comic book movies do something like this. I think that it would be cool to see like a combination of live action and CGI with cell shading in a comic book based movie to add a bit of realism, but to keep that comic book feeling. In this movie, it really worked though. I mean, it's very colorful. You've got this stuff going on with the multiverse and quantum particles, and they chose to depict that with lots of colors. Overall, this movie was very colorful, and each scene, each kind of setting had an interesting color palette, and it kind of made the setting its own character. Anyway, I don't know, I just really like the artwork. Now, if I had to point out the few negatives about the film, I'll say that for me, this it felt like every other Spider-Man origin movie. Even though this is about Miles Morales, and Miles had some different circumstances from Peter, his story beats are the same as every other iteration of Spider-Man's origin. Now, the movie gets kind of meta by providing an explanation to Miles and the audience, and it's almost like a rite of passage. He had to experience everything that every other Spider-Man experienced on their path. The only thing, though, and this was my other negative, is that Miles is different. He had some abilities that Peter and Gwen don't have. There isn't really an explanation for his new abilities, but I just kind of chalked it up to him having different DNA, being bitten by a different spider, and literally being a second Spider-Man, where everyone else is basically Peter Parker or the first Spider-Man in their universe. I guess the only other thing that I felt was that the other Spider-Men were there for more of novelty purposes. I mean, I really like Penny Parker, but she didn't really do much, and Spider-Ham was kind of silly. The story really seemed to revolve around Miles, Gwen, and Peter. Like, I walked out thinking that I would really enjoy a movie with just Miles, Gwen, and Peter Parker. Anyway, I feel like that's getting into spoiler territory, so if you guys want an in-depth review, like I said, let me know down in the comments or give me a thumbs up or something. I mean, I would say give me like 500 thumbs up for a full review, but I don't know how many views I'm going to get on this video, you know, because this is a Star Wars channel, and YouTube doesn't like when I talk about stuff that's not Star Wars. But anyway, you guys can probably tell that I really like the movie. I work with a lot of kids, so I would totally buy this when the digital version comes out in a few months. It's got some action, the story moves at a good pace, and the soundtrack is dope. Hands down, best soundtrack in a Spider-Man movie to date. I was trying not to sit there and nod my head through half the movie. Biggie, 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 can't you see? But if you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. I'm actually sorry that I didn't see it early when it was playing at the IMAX theater near my house last weekend. If you have seen it already, what were your favorite parts, and would you like to see a sequel with the Miles Morales Spider-Man? Also, let me know again if you want me to sit down and post a full review on the movie to this channel or to my other channel, the Geek Culture Rundown. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, down there, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Embark on your journey to becoming the hero of your own story, and become a force for change in your community. Continue to support the channel. You can do that by checking out more videos from this channel and coming back, because I'm getting ready to leave and go see Aquaman after I get this video posted. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you always.